Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolebarger and welcome to a pretty messy, depressive week, if you know what I mean. It's the week of May 19th and this is our KFIR Middle East update. Let me remind you right off the bat to go to our website at holygroundexplorations.com to access the PDF PowerPoint that accompanies this presentation, because this YouTube really is just an introduction to that PDF in terms of what we're covering this week. So let's look at headlines. Well, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, right? Osama bin Laden's son has called for attacks on Jews and Americans. A new Al-Qaeda propaganda video is urging lone wolf attackers in the West to look for Jewish targets everywhere. And then when you think it can't get any crazier, the top Palestinian negotiator, Saeb Erekat, he said on Sunday that Israel must apologize for the catastrophe of 1948, when Israel became a state, in order to achieve any kind of just and lasting peace between Israel and Palestine. Think about that. Issue an apology for their statehood. Palestinians in Hebron have just elected this man, Abu Snenach. His credentials, he's murdered 6 Israelis. And so upon that, it appears that only in the PA can murderers hold public offices. With everything that's going on, whether it's with the mess that Trump's in, Trump's visit to Israel next week, which we're looking forward to see what he's actually going to say about the so-called peace process, about the embassy. Before all of that unfolds, Mahmoud Abbas, when he met with Trump, as you know, we reported on this last week, talked about the Palestinians teaching their children and grandchildren a so-called culture of peace. Our friends at PMW, Palestinian Media Watch, have just released this so-called culture of peace. They've given us the names of some of the schools in Ramallah. Did you realize that 28 schools are named after terrorists and 3 schools after Nazi collaborators? And so this is the seedbed for this so-called culture of peace. As I said, it's a messy weekend. Horrifying news. The Trump administration has accused the Syrian government on Monday of carrying out mass murders. The State Department said that it believed that there were 50 detainees a day that were being hung at the Saydanaya prison, military prison, about 45 miles north of Damascus. And many of the bodies, it said, is being burnt in crematoriums, as you can see in the PDF, the pictures of that. This has kind of affected Israelis in sort of a, I don't want to say weird way, but, it's not hard when you're in Israel to still feel the after effects of the Holocaust. And opposition leaders and among the members of Knesset are demanding that Israel takes military action to stop the Assad atrocities, remembering that when the news was given in at least 42 regarding the crematoriums or whatever, that the world stood by as simply bystanders. And so this is what's kind of underneath the surface of what's going on in Israel today regarding Syria. You can read this for yourself. The minister, retired IDF General Yoav Gallant, is calling for the assassination of Bashar Assad. He said last Tuesday, he does not have a place in this world any longer. Again, with what we're hearing about the crematoriums and the systematic killings, don't be surprised if he has an unfortunate accident soon. Nikki Haley's come out very strongly because, as we mentioned, all this talk about the Western Wall, does it belong to Israel or not, and as well as not just the Western Wall, but the embassy move or whatever. And Nikki Haley on Tuesday said that the U.S. embassy should be moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, upholding the campaign promise of Trump, and that the Western Wall, make no doubt about it, according to Nikki Haley, is part of Jerusalem. It's part of the Israeli territory. Gotta love Nikki Haley speaking her mind. You wonder if she'll be silenced by the politicians because I think she's, unfortunately, or maybe we should say fortunately, she speaks her mind, she speaks truth. And in the halls of the Beltway, it seems like it's better to keep things in the dark and foggy rather than speaking truth. And I think that's a lot of what Trump is dealing with right now. Well, last night, Israeli security forces, this story kind of hits home because we were in Israel when the 3 teenage boys were kidnapped, Naftali, El, and Gilad. And we remember what the country really went through. And, we're talking about how can there be any peace as long as the families of terrorists are being paid off. Well, regarding all of this, Israeli security forces overnight on Wednesday confiscated money that was given to the families of these Hamas terrorists who killed out the 2014 kidnappings. It was an IDF joint effort from the IDF and Shin Bet, the border police, thousands of shekels, computers and cars, etc., just donated to the families of the murderers, the killers, the terrorists. And so that has now been confiscated. An op-ed article by noted Israeli journalist, American at this point in time, you can take a look at that, Alan Dershowitz, his article that's basically asking Trump to make sure that the issues are addressed and not just sort of smoothed over in his attempt for a so-called peace solution. So take the time to read that. Running out of time here, there's an article about, again, the amount of money that the PA is paying out to the families of terrorists, tens of millions of dollars, or shekels, I should say, and refusing to pay for health care for the people. That money's being funded for the family of terrorists. You can read that on your own. We have quote of the week. It's time to take a stand, as you know. Can't just be bystanders. From Proverbs. It says, like a muddied spring or polluted well are the righteous who give way to the wicked. Again, we must take a stand. We must have a voice. We've named our online Bible fellowship KFIR, Hebrew for young lions, and it's time for the young lions to truly roar in these days. So on the concluding 2 pages here, you'll see our upcoming trip that we're very excited about, Off the Beaten Path. Take a look at that. Please get a hold of us if you're at all interested in this tour. Again, our website, holygroundexplorations.com. We need to get an idea of how many people are interested so that we can make the right accommodations, buses, lodgings, etc. There is an extension that you'll see to Petra as well. So again, Dan Stolebarger, next week's a big week with Trump's visit to Israel. We'll probably hold off because I think that's on a Thursday, and we'll hold off for the report to be on Friday, so we have all that information. So with that, let me wish you a Shabbat Shalom, and wishing you Jesus' peace in these days, because he is still on the throne. God bless.